The rain started falling on Dracker, 7 just after sunset. Bile heard the first drops hitting her metal roof like tiny hammers. She looked up from her workbench where she was trying to repair an old data pad. The sound of rain usually made her feel safe and cozy inside her little house. But tonight was different. Drip, drip, drip. Water started falling through a crack in the ceiling. It landed right on her sleeping mat. Bile jumped up quickly and moved the mat to a dry corner. She was a small dragon, much smaller than other dragons in the colony. Her green scales shimmered even in the dim light of her single lamp. She grabbed an old metal bucket from under her workbench and placed it under the leak. The bucket made a loud ping sound each time a drop fell into it. Bile sighed and went back to her work. But then another leak started, and another. Soon she had 5 buckets scattered around her tiny house, all making different sounds as the rain hit them. Her house was made from old spaceship parts and scrap metal. She had built it herself 3 years ago after her parents died. Other dragons in the colony had big, strong houses made from proper materials. But Bile had no money and no help. She took whatever she could find in the scrap yards and put it together piece by piece. The roof was made from thin metal sheets she had welded together. She thought she did a good job, but now water was coming through everywhere. The rain got heavier. Thunder rolled across the sky. Bile looked at her most precious possession sitting on a small shelf. It was a holographic photo device showing images of her parents. It was the only thing she had left of them. She picked it up carefully and wrapped in a cloth to keep it dry. Her hand shook a little. She remembered the day the mine collapsed. Her parents were working deep underground, looking for rare crystals. The cave fell down on them. They never came out. After that, other dragons said she was too small to live alone. They said she was too weak. They wanted her to leave the colony and find a dragon family somewhere else. But Bile had nowhere to go, so she stayed and built this house from scraps. Now the rain was coming down so hard that Bile could barely hear herself think. She grabbed her tools and climbed onto her roof through the small hatch. The metal was slippery and dangerous. Wind pushed against her small body. She tried to see where the leaks were coming from. Her claws scraped against the wet metal as she moved carefully across the roof. She found a big gap where 2 sheets had separated. She tried to push them together, but they would not move. The metal was bent and rusty. She needed new materials and better tools. A huge gust of wind almost knocked her off the roof. Bile grabbed onto a pipe and held tight. Rain poured down her face. She could taste the water in her mouth. Her wings were too wet to fly properly. She crawled back to the hatch and climbed inside, soaking wet and cold. Inside, water was everywhere now. The buckets were overflowing. Her sleeping mat was completely soaked. Water dripped onto her workbench, ruining the data pad she was fixing. She wanted to cry, but she did not. Dragons were supposed to be strong. At least that is what everyone always said. She heard a knock on her door. Bile froze. Nobody ever knocked on her door. She walked slowly to the entrance and opened it just a crack. A human man stood there holding an umbrella. He was wearing work clothes and had kind eyes. "Hello," he said with a smile. "I am Deho. I moved into the house next to yours last week. I saw you on your roof. The storm is very bad. Are you okay?" Bile did not know what to say. She was not used to neighbors talking to her. Most creatures in the colony ignored her completely. "I am fine," she said quietly. Her voice sounded small even to herself. Deho looked past her into the house. He could see the buckets and the water everywhere. His smile faded into a concerned look. "Your roof is leaking badly," he said. "I am an engineer. I can help you fix it." "No," Bile said quickly. "I do not need help. I can fix it myself." She started to close the door, but Deho put his hand up gently. "Please," he said. "I am not trying to insult you. I just want to be a good neighbor. Where I come from, neighbors help each other. I have no money to pay you," Bile said. Her cheeks fell hot with shame. "I do not want money," Deho replied. "I just moved here, and I do not know many people yet. Maybe we could be friends." Bile stared at him. Friends? Nobody wanted to be friends with a small dragon who lived in a scrap house. She shook her head. Thank you, but no. I will manage. She closed the door before he could say anything else. She leaned against it and listened to his footsteps walking away. Part of her wanted to open the door and call him back, but her pride would not let her. Dragons were supposed to be independent and strong. That night, Bile did not sleep. She sat in the only dry corner of her house and listened to the rain. The storm got worse and worse. More leaks appeared. Soon there was no dry place left. She held her parents' holographic photo close to her chest and wrapped herself in a wet blanket. When morning came, the rain finally stopped. Bile opened her door and looked at the damage. Water had ruined most of her belongings. Her workbench tools were covered in rust. Her food storage box was full of water. The old data pad she was fixing was destroyed completely. She stepped outside and looked at her roof in the daylight. It was worse than she thought. The metal sheets were bent and broken in many places. Some were hanging loose. She would need to replace almost everything. Bile sat down on her front step and put her head in her hands. How could she fix this? She had no money for materials. She had no friends to help her. She was completely alone. Good morning. She looked up. Daeho was standing there again. This time he was not alone. A woman stood next to him, carrying a large bag. This is my sister, Hannah, Daeho said. She is a medic. We brought some food and dry blankets. We thought you might need them. Bile looked at them both. The woman named Hannah had a gentle smile. She set down the bag and pulled out a warm blanket. Please, Hannah said softly. Let us help you. Nobody should live in a flooded house. Bile felt something break inside her. Maybe it was her pride. Maybe it was her loneliness. She did not know, but tears started rolling down her face. She could not stop them. Okay, she whispered. Okay, I need help. Daeho arrived early the next morning with his truck full of materials. Bile watched from her doorway as he unloaded metal sheets, wooden beams, tools, and boxes of nails and screws. Everything looked new and expensive. She felt her stomach twist with worry. This must cost a lot of money, she said quietly. I told you I cannot pay. Daeho stopped and turned to her. He wiped sweat from his forehead and smiled. I know, he said. I bought these from Tael at the supply depot. He gave me a good price. Do not worry about money right now. We will figure something out. He climbed up onto a roof with his tools. Bile heard him walking around up there, testing the metal with his hands. After a few minutes, he climbed back down. His face looked serious. Bile, he said carefully, the roof is not the only problem. The whole house structure is weak. The walls are not connected properly. The foundation is sinking on one side. If we only fix the roof, the house might fall down during the next big storm. Bile felt her heart sink. She knew her house was not perfect, but she thought it was good enough. Now this human was telling her that everything she built was wrong. I built it myself, she said defensively. I did my best with what I had. I know, Daeho said gently, and you did an amazing job with so little. But now we can make it better. We can make it safe. Why do you care? Bile asked suddenly. You do not know me. Why are you doing this? Daeho sat down on the step next to her. He was quiet for a moment, looking at the sky. 5 years ago, my parents died in a transport ship accident, he said slowly. Me and Hannah had nothing. We were young and alone. A neighbor, an old man named Mr. Kim, helped us. He gave us food. He taught me engineering. He helped us find jobs. Without him, I do not know what would have happened to us. He looked at Bile with kind eyes. Mr. Kim told me something before he died. He said that kindness is like a seed. When you plant it, it grows and makes more seeds. Those seeds spread and grow in other places. I am just planting seeds, Bile, just like Mr. Kim did for me. Bile felt tears in her eyes again. She quickly wiped them away. I cannot pay you with money, she said, but maybe I can help you in another way. What do you mean? Daeho asked. I know a lot about dragon technology, Bile explained. Dragons use energy differently than humans. We can see energy patterns that humans cannot see. I can teach you about it. Maybe it will help with your engineering work. Daeho's eyes lit up with excitement. Really? That would be incredible. I have been trying to understand dragon energy systems for months. Yes, that would be perfect payment. They shook hands. Bile felt something warm in her chest. It felt like hope. They started working together that same day. Daeho showed Bile how to properly measure and cut metal. He taught her about weight distribution and structural support. Bile showed him how dragons could sense weak points in materials by feeling the energy flow through them. Hannah came by every afternoon with food. She always brought extra and made sure Bile ate properly. She noticed that Bile was very thin and looked tired. When did you last have a good meal? Hannah asked one day. Bile shrugged. I eat when I have money. Sometimes I go to the scrap yard and find old food containers that still have something inside. Hannah's face showed shock and sadness. She did not say anything, but from that day on, she brought even more food. She also brought medical supplies and checked Bile's health. She found that Bile had a vitamin deficiency and some old injuries that never healed properly. You have been taking care of yourself all alone, Hannah said while bandaging an old cut on Bile's arm. That must have been very hard. I had no choice, Bile replied. After my parents died, the other dragons said I was too small to be a real dragon. They said I would never be strong enough to survive alone. I wanted to prove them wrong. You are strong, Hannah said firmly. Very strong. But being strong does not mean you have to do everything alone. Even the strongest people need help sometimes. Bile thought about these words while she worked with Daeho. Maybe Hannah was right. Maybe asking for help was not weakness. Maybe it was actually smart. The work went slowly but steadily. Daeho removed the old roof completely. He built a new frame from strong wooden beams. He showed Bile how to weld the metal sheets properly so water could not get through. They worked from sunrise to sunset every day. During breaks, Bile taught Daeho about dragon energy theory. She explained how dragons could breathe fire by converting stored energy in their bodies. She showed him how to see the small energy patterns in materials that show where they would break under stress. Daeho was a good student. He asked many questions and took notes in a small book. He started to see patterns he never noticed before. He realized that combining human engineering with dragon energy knowledge could create amazing things. You are an excellent teacher, he told Bile one afternoon. Have you ever thought about teaching others? Bile laughed sadly. Who would want to learn from me? I am the small dragon who lives in a scrap house. You will not live in a scrap house much longer, Daeho said with a smile. Soon you will live in a proper house. And I think many people will want to learn from you. You know things that nobody else knows. One evening, while they were finishing work for the day, Bile asked Daeho a question that had been on her mind. Why are humans so different? She asked. What do you mean? Daeho replied. Dragons always talk about being strong and independent. We are taught that accepting help is shameful. But humans seem to help each other all the time. You do not think it is shameful. Daeho thought carefully before answering. Humans learned something important a long time ago, he said. We learned that we are stronger together than alone. One human cannot build a spaceship, but many humans working together can build cities in space. We survive because we help each other. I wish dragons thought like that, Bile said quietly. Maybe you can teach them, Daeho suggested. Maybe you could be the seed that changes how dragons think. Bile looked at her house. The new roof frame was strong and straight. The walls were reinforced. It already looked so much better than before. But more than that, she felt better. She felt like maybe she was not alone anymore. Daeho, she said, thank you. Not just for fixing my house. Thank you for treating me like I matter. You do matter. Daeho said seriously. Every person matters. Every life has value. That is what Mr. Kim taught me. And that is what I believe. As the sun set over the colony, Bile and Daeho sat on her front step and ate the dinner that Hannah had brought. For the first time in 3 years, Bile felt like she had a family again. Not a family by blood, but a family by choice. And maybe that was even better. The sound of hammering and welding drew attention from all around the neighborhood. Every day, more colonists walked past Bile's house to see what was happening. Some smiled and waved. Others whispered to each other and looked worried. An alien with blue skin and 4 arms stopped by one morning. He watched Deho working on the roof for a long time. Finally, he spoke. "Human," the alien said in a deep voice, "why do you waste time on the small dragon? Dragons do not want our help. They are proud creatures." Deho climbed down from the ladder and wiped his hands on his work pants. "I am helping because my neighbor needs help," he said simply. "It is not about pride. It is about kindness." The alien shook his head and walked away. But he was not the only one who came to watch. Every day brought new curious visitors. Some brought cold drinks for Deho and Bile. Others just stood and stared. One afternoon, 3 large dragons appeared in front of Bile's house. They were huge compared to Bile, with thick scales and powerful wings. Bile recognized them immediately. They were elders from the Dragon District, the part of the colony where most dragons live together. The oldest dragon was named Elder Wren. She had dark red scales and sharp yellow eyes. She looked at the half-finished house with disapproval. "Bile," Elder Wren said coldly, "what is the meaning of this?" Bile felt small and scared, but she stood up straight and tried to sound confident. "My house was damaged in the storm. My neighbor is helping me repair it. A human is touching dragon property," another elder said with disgust. "This is not acceptable." "Why not?" Deho asked, stepping forward. He was not afraid of the large dragons. "Bile needed help, and I offered. Is there a law against neighbors helping each other?" Elder Wren turned her fierce eyes on Deho. For a moment, nobody spoke. The tension in the air felt thick and heavy. "You do not understand our ways, human," Elder Wren said. "Dragons must stand alone. We do not accept charity. We do not show weakness." "This is not charity," Deho replied calmly. "This is friendship, and asking for help is not weakness. It is wisdom. You dare lecture me about dragon culture?" Elder Wren's voice rose angrily. "I dare speak the truth," Deho said. "Bile has been living in a dangerous house for years. She could have been hurt or killed. Where were you when she needed help? Where was the dragon community?" The elders looked shocked. Nobody spoke to them this way. Elder Wren's eyes flashed with anger, but before she could respond, Bile stepped between them. "Please stop," Bile said, her voice shaking. "Elder Wren, I respect you and the dragon traditions. But Deho is right. I didn't need help. I still need help. My house was falling apart, and I had no way to fix it alone." "Then you should have come to the Dragon District," Elder Wren said. "We would have provided assistance." "Would you?" Bile asked quietly. 3 years ago, when my parents died, I came to the Dragon District. I asked for help. You told me I was too small and too weak. You said I should leave the colony. You said I was a disgrace to dragons." Elder Wren's face changed slightly. The other elders looked uncomfortable. "That was different," Elder Wren said, but her voice was less certain now. "How was it different?" Bile asked, her voice growing stronger. "I needed help then, and you turned me away. Deho is a stranger, not even my species, but he saw I needed help, and he came. He did not ask questions. He did not judge me. He just helped." One of the younger elders spoke up. "Perhaps we should see the quality of this human's work before we judge." Deho gestured to the house. "Please, look at anything you want. I am using human engineering methods combined with dragon energy principles that Bile taught me." The elders walked around the house slowly, examining every joint and weld. Elder Wren climbed onto the roof and tested its strength. She looked surprised. "This is solid work," she admitted reluctantly. "The energy flow is balanced. The structure will hold even in strong storms." "Bile helped design it," Deho said. "She has a natural understanding of how energy moves through materials. She is very talented." The elders looked at Bile with new eyes. They had always dismissed her as a small, weak dragon. Now they saw her working confidently alongside a human, creating something strong and well-made. "We will discuss this matter further," Elder Wren said stiffly. Then she and the other elders flew away without another word. Bile sat down heavily on her front step She was shaking. That was scary, she admitted. You were brave, Deho said, sitting beside her. You stood up for yourself. I am proud of you. That evening, dark clouds rolled in again. Another storm was coming. Deho looked at the sky with concern. The roof is not finished yet, he said. We need at least 2 more days of work. We should secure what we can, Bile said. They worked quickly, tying down loose materials and covering openings with tarps. But the storm came faster than expected. Rain started falling just as the sun set. Wind picked up, tearing at the tarps. This is bad. Deho shouted over the wind. We need more help. Bile ran to knock on neighbors' doors. To her surprise, people came. The blue alien with 4 arms arrived first. Then came a family of small creatures with green fur. Even Tail from the supply depot showed up with extra tarps and rope. Nobody should lose their home in a storm, Tail grumbled. Let us work. Everyone worked together through the wind and rain. The 4-armed alien held beams in place while Deho secured them. The green-furred creatures used their small size to crawl into tight spaces and tie down loose materials. Hannah arrived with lights so they could see in the darkness. Water was getting through gaps in the unfinished roof. Bile suddenly had an idea. I can seal the gaps, she shouted. How? Deho yelled back. With my fire. Bile climbed onto the roof, careful on the slippery surface. She took a deep breath and blew a thin, controlled stream of fire along the seams where water was leaking through. The heat melted the edges of the metal sheets slightly, welding them together. She moved from gap to gap, sealing each one. That is amazing, shouted one of the green-furred creatures. With everyone working together, they secured the house before the worst of the storm hit. They all crowded inside Bile's small house, wet and tired but happy. Hannah passed around hot drinks she had brought in a large container. We did it, Deho said, breathing hard. We saved the house. The blue alien laughed, a deep rumbling sound. This small dragon has good neighbors now, and we have a good neighbor too. Everyone looked at the alien in surprise. He rarely spoke to anyone. The human showed us something important tonight. The alien continued. He showed us that helping each other makes us all stronger. I forgot this truth. Thank you for reminding me. Others nodded in agreement. The green-furred mother said, Tomorrow I will bring food. We will have a meal together to celebrate. As the storm raged outside, Bile looked around at all the different creatures crowded in her small house. A human, an alien, a family of furry creatures, and herself, a small dragon. They were all so different, but tonight they were all the same. They were neighbors. They were a community. Elder Wren would say this was not the dragon way. But Bile did not care anymore. This felt right. This felt like home. The house was nearly finished. The roof was solid and waterproof. The walls stood straight and strong. The foundation was level and secure. Deho had even built a small porch where Bile could sit and watch the sunset. But something was wrong with Bile. Hannah noticed it first. Bile smiled and thanked everyone for their help, but her eyes looked sad. She worked on the final touches of the house, but her movements were slow and heavy. At night, Hannah could hear Bile crying softly through the thin walls. One evening, Hannah came over with dinner and found Bile sitting alone in the dark. The lights work now, Hannah said gently, turning them on. Why are you sitting in darkness? Bile did not answer right away. She just stared at the floor. Bile, what is wrong? Hannah asked, sitting down beside her. The house is almost done. You should be happy. I do not deserve this, Bile whispered. What do you mean? Tears rolled down Bile's green scales. All my life, dragons told me I was worthless. They said I was too small to be a real dragon, too weak, too useless. They said nobody would ever want me around. That is not true, Hannah said firmly. But what if it is? Bile's voice broke. Look at me. I could not even build a proper house. I failed at the one thing I tried to do alone. Maybe the elders were right. Maybe I am just a failure. Hannah took Bile's small hand in hers. Listen to me carefully. You are not a failure. You survived 3 years alone after your parents died. You built a house from scraps with no help and no training. You taught yourself to repair technology. You never gave up, even when everyone told you to leave. That is not failure, Bile. That is strength. Then why do I feel so broken? Bile asked, crying harder now. Because someone told you that you were broken, Hannah said softly, and you believe them. But you are not broken, Bile. You never were. Deho came in carrying his toolbox. He stopped when he saw Bile crying. He set down the tools and sat on her other side. What happened? He asked with concern. Bile thinks she is worthless, Hannah explained. Deho was quiet for a moment. Then he started speaking in a calm voice. When I was young, I wanted to be a doctor like my father, but I was not good at medicine. I failed all my medical tests. My teachers said I should give up. They said I did not have the talent for it. He looked at Bile with understanding eyes. I felt worthless too. I thought I was disappointed in my father's memory. But then Mr. Kim showed me something important. He showed me that just because I was not good at one thing did not mean I was not good at anything. He helped me discover engineering. He helped me find what I was actually good at. But I am not good at anything, Bile said miserably. That is not true, Deho said. You taught me more about energy systems in 2 weeks than I learned in 2 years of studying. You understand how materials work on a level I never could. You sealed the roof during the storm with your fire in a way no human could do. You have gifts, Bile. Real gifts. He is right, Hannah added. And you know what else? You are kind and honest and brave. Those are gifts too. Over the next few days, Deho brought other people to meet Bile. First came Jiwoo, a human man with a prosthetic arm. His real arm had been lost in an accident. People told me I could not be an inventor anymore, Jiwoo said, showing Bile his mechanical arm. They said I was disabled and useless. But I invented this arm myself. Now I invent things to help other people who lost body parts. Sometimes what others call broken is actually just different. Then came Sunhee, a teacher who worked with refugee children at the colony school. I teach children from 20 different species, Sunhee explained. Many of them arrive here traumatized and scared. Other teachers said these children could not learn, that they were too damaged. But those teachers were wrong. These children just needed someone who believed in them. Now, many of my students are the top performers in the colony. Sunhee looked at Bile thoughtfully. You know, I could use someone who understands dragon language and culture. Many dragon children struggle in school because their teachers do not understand how dragons learn. Would you be interested in helping? Me? Teach? Bile asked in surprise. Why not? You taught Deho, and he said you are excellent at explaining things. But I am not a real teacher, Bile protested. Neither was I when I started. Son, he said with a smile, I learn by doing. You can too. The idea scared Bile, but it also excited her. She agreed to try. The next day, Sunny brought 3 young dragon children to Bile's house. They were having trouble with their math lessons. Their human teacher could not make them understand. Bile was nervous at first, but when she started explaining math using dragon energy concepts, the children's faces lit up with understanding. She showed them how numbers were like energy flows, how addition was like combining streams, how subtraction was like redirecting them. I understand now, one child shouted happily. The children came back the next day, and the day after that. Soon, other parents heard about the small dragon, who could teach in ways the children understood. More students came. Bile found herself teaching every afternoon. She was good at it, really good. The children loved her. She made learning fun and easy. She understood their struggles because she had struggled too. One evening, Deho found her surrounded by happy children, all working on their lessons. He smiled and waited until the children left before speaking. You found it, he said. Found what? Bile asked. Your purpose, the thing you are meant to do. Bile looked at the scattered learning materials around her. I never thought I could be a teacher. I never thought I had anything worth teaching. You have so much to teach, Deho said, and not just facts and skills. You teach by example. You show these children that being small does not mean being weak, that being different does not mean being wrong, that struggling does not mean failing. That night, Elder Wren came to visit. She came alone this time, without the other elders. She looked at the finished house with careful eyes. "Your house is complete," she said. "Yes," Bile replied, unsure why the elder was there. Elder Wren was silent for a long moment. Then she spoke in a softer voice than Bile had ever heard from her. "I owe you an apology. When your parents died, we failed you. We judged you by your size instead of your spirit. We turned away someone who needed help. That was wrong." Bile stared in shock. Elder Wren never apologized to anyone. "The humans showed me something I had forgotten," the elder continued. "He showed me that strength comes in many forms. Physical power is not the only kind of strength. Your courage, your persistence, your kindness, these are strengths too, perhaps stronger than any muscle or claw." "Thank you," Bile said quietly. "I have been speaking with the other elders," Elder Wren said. "We want to learn from the humans. We want to understand how they support individuals who do not fit traditional paths. Would you and Deo be willing to teach us?" Bile felt warmth spreading through her chest. The dragons who rejected her now wanted to learn from her. "Yes," she said. "Yes, I would be happy to help." After Elder Wren left, Bile stood on her new porch and looked at her house. The roof was fixed. The walls were strong. Everything was repaired. But the real repair had not been to the house. The real repair had been to her heart. She finally understood that she was not broken. She never had been. She was just different, and different was okay. The day of the house completion ceremony arrived with bright sunshine and clear blue skies. Bile woke up early and looked around her home. Everything was perfect. The roof was strong and did not leak. The walls were straight and painted a cheerful yellow color. The windows let in lots of light. She had a real bed now, not just a sleeping mat on the floor. She had a proper kitchen with working appliances. She had a bathroom with hot water. But the best part was not the house itself. The best part was what the house represented. It was proof that she mattered, proof that she was not alone. People started arriving in the morning. Hannah came first with decorations and streamers. She hung them all around the porch and doorway. He brought flowers from her garden. Jiwoo arrived with a gift, a small robot he invented that could help with household repairs. "I made it especially for you," Jiwoo said proudly. "If anything breaks, this little guy can fix it." The blue alien with 4 arms brought food. The green-furred family brought sweet cakes they baked themselves. Tail from the supply depot came with a new toolbox, though he pretended to be grumpy about it. "I had extra tools lying around," he muttered. "Might as well give them to someone who will use them." But Bile saw him smile when he thought nobody was looking. More neighbors came. People Bile had never even spoken to before brought small gifts and kind words. The colony's director, a stern woman named Director Yoon, arrived in her official uniform. "I heard about what happened here," Director Yoon said, looking at the house and the gathered crowd. "This is exactly what our colony needs. Unity between different species, cooperation and kindness. You have set a good example for everyone." Then the dragons arrived. Elder Wren came with a dozen other dragons, young and old. They carried gifts too. Traditional dragon crystals that glowed with soft light, woven blankets made from dragon silk, books about dragon history and culture. "We want to welcome you properly," Elder Wren said to Bile. "Not as a small dragon we once rejected, but as the wise teacher you have become. We were wrong about you. We see that now." Bile felt tears in her eyes, but this time they were happy tears. Daeho stood next to Bile as everyone gathered around. He raised his voice so everyone could hear. "Today we celebrate more than just a repaired house. We celebrate friendship. We celebrate community. We celebrate the truth that when we help each other, we all become stronger." Everyone cheered and clapped. The celebration began. There was food and music. The green-furred children played games with dragon children and human children. Adults from different species talked and laughed together. For one day, all the usual barriers between different types of creatures seemed to disappear. In the afternoon, Bile showed everyone her small workshop inside the house. She had been working on something special. On her workbench sat a strange device made from both human technology and dragon crystals. "What is it?" someone asked. "It is a water recycling system," Bile explained. "It collects rainwater, purifies it using dragon energy crystals, and stores it for use. Deho helped me design it. One system can provide clean water for 5 families. Director Yoon examined the device carefully. This could help the entire colony. Many neighborhoods have water shortage problems." "I know," Bile said. "That is why I made it. I wanted to give something back to the community that helped me." Director Yoon smiled, something she rarely did. "I want to order 50 of these systems for the colony. Can you make them?" Bile's eyes went wide. 50? That would take months of work. "Then you will need help," Elder Rin said. "The Dragon District has many skill crafters. They can help you build these devices. We can work together." "The Engineering Guild will help too," added a human man from the crowd. "Your design is brilliant. We should mass produce it." Suddenly, Bile realized what was happening. She had invented something that people needed, something that would help many families. Her small idea was becoming something big and important. "I do not know what to say," she whispered. "Say yes." Deho encouraged her with a smile. "Yes," Bile said, her voice growing stronger. "Yes, I will make them. We will make them together." As evening came, most of the guests left. Only close friends remained. They sat on Bile's new porch, watching the sun set over the colony. The sky turned orange and pink and purple. Tail surprised everyone by admitting something. "I donated extra materials for your house," he said gruffly. "I told Deho they were on sale, but I actually paid for half of them myself. I just did not want anyone to know." "Why?" Bile asked. Tail looked uncomfortable. "Because a long time ago, someone helped me when I had nothing. I never forgot that kindness. I wanted to pass it on." Hannah laughed softly. "I think everyone in this colony has a story like that. We all received help from someone at some point. That is how communities survive." Sunny said, "We take care of each other. We lift each other up." The conversation continued as stars appeared in the sky. People shared stories of times they were helped and times they helped others. Each story was different, but they all had the same message. Kindness mattered. Community mattered. No one had to face life alone. Eventually, everyone went home except Deho and Hannah. The 3 of them sat quietly on the porch, comfortable in the silence. "Thank you," Bile said finally. "Thank you for everything. You changed my life." "You changed our lives, too," Hannah replied. "You taught us that helping others brings joy. You showed us the power of not giving up." "You know what is funny?" Bile said thoughtfully. "My roof leaked, and I thought it was the worst thing that could happen. But if my roof never leaked, I would never have met you. I would still be alone, thinking I was worthless. Sometimes bad things lead to good things." "That is very wise," Deho said. They sat in comfortable silence for a while longer. Then Bile asked a question that had been in her mind for weeks. "Deho, why do humans always help others? Even when it is hard, even when it costs them time and money and energy?" Deho looked up at the stars and thought carefully before answering. "Because every time we lift someone up, we build something stronger than any roof. We build hope, and hope is what keeps us going when times are hard. Hope is what makes life worth living." "Hope," Bile repeated softly. "I have hope now, real hope for the future. What will you do with that hope?" Hannah asked. "I will teach," Bile said with confidence. "I will invent things that help people. I will show other small dragons that being small does not mean being weak. I will prove that everyone has value, no matter what others say about them." "That sounds like a wonderful life," Deho said warmly. Bile looked at her house, at the warm lights glowing through the windows. She looked at her friends sitting beside her. She looked at the neighborhood, where people from different worlds lived together in peace. This was home. Not just the building, but the connections, the friendships, the community. This was what home really meant. Her roof no longer leaked. But more importantly, Her heart no longer felt empty. She was no longer the sad, lonely dragon living in a scrap house. She was Bile, teacher and inventor and friend. She was valued. She was loved. She belonged. And it all started with a leaking roof and a kind neighbor who saw past her small size and saw her true worth. Sometimes the biggest changes come from the smallest act of kindness. Sometimes fixing a roof means fixing a life. And sometimes a human and a dragon can teach an entire colony what it truly means to be neighbors.